Okay, hi. All right, this is my newsletter for Aries, new moon in Aries, and my camera's going crazy. Life is crazy right now, it's crazy. I don't know what to say to you. Oh my God, the astrology, the astrology. I sometimes wish I wasn't I'm like not even an astrologer right now. It's just ridiculous. Like this is just so stupid. You know, we've been talking about this for months and months and months. The destruction of society, the structures coming down, everything stopping. Here it is. Welcome to 2020. Here we go. So I don't know how much I need to say about it, honestly, or how much I need to describe. I will, briefly, I thought maybe just to show you a picture, I would share my screen with you and just show you the chart of the moment, if that works for you. Let's take a look, shall we? It might anchor us if my camera doesn't stop misbehaving. Okay, so what have we got going on? So we all know that this huge stellium in Capricorn has been happening, right? So we've got the Pluto conjunct the Saturn. Now Saturn just entered Aquarius a minute ago, like yesterday. So, but it has been in Capricorn for the last 2 years, since December of 2017. Nevertheless, we've had all leading up to 2020, we had Pluto and Saturn coming together in Capricorn. Last April, around Easter time, they came within 3 degrees of each other. When they came within 3 degrees of each other, this was essentially the closest they would get until January of 2020, when they went like this and they held hands and they like just kissed each other. So last April was the beginning, as far as I can tell, of the consciousness around what's happening right now. So I started to feel it in April. I know the world started to reflect it in April. Do you remember what happened on April 15th of 2019 when the Notre Dame Cathedral started burning? And it was, kind of like this symbolic destruction of the patriarchal system, or the structure that we had built up, that we had become used to relying upon. And we talked about all this stuff in my newsletter, I think from December, but it's worth going back to understand, the Capricorn is an archetype of structure. It's an archetype that says, I'm going to go out into society and I'm going to create something that's of lasting value that will keep everybody in society safe and sound. I am going to create, stability. I'm going to create reliability. I am responsible. And so for the last number of thousand years, we've lived inside a patriarchal structure, right? The patriarchy has been in control. And what's happening very clearly now is we're dissolving those structures. We're dissolving the parts of our society that we have become reliant upon, or that we had become reliant upon, that are no longer there to hold us. They're no longer working, right? The parts that are diseased, the parts that are non-regenerative. So they're not regenerating anymore. They're not actually fulfilling us. They're not fueling us. They're not contributing to our well-being. This was equally as reflected in the Nodal Axis that we've been existing in for the last 2 years, which is the South Node in Capricorn, North Node in Cancer. And the fact that the entire collective has been releasing Capricorn karma, Capricorn paradigm, or at least Capricorn non-regenerative paradigm, because Capricorn at its essence is a very beautiful archetype, right? It's a very beautiful archetype. In fact, it's a feminine archetype. But we've had to release the toxicity from the archetype. We've had to see it in the environment. The underbelly of the archetype has had to come up. Capricorn, Pluto and Capricorn. We've seen the corruption. We've seen the misuse of the planet. We've seen the misuse of resources. We've seen like the blatant disregard for human life and human welfare. I mean, this is nothing new, but we've sure been faced with it in the last year, let me tell you. Do you remember the summer and the images of those children lying on concrete with like tiny metal blankets over them at the border of the United States and Mexico? Do you remember that? It was like disgusting, right? it's all part of it, right? There are uprisings all over the world, people saying no, people saying we won't live in these regimes. You know, Hong Kong rose up in protest of the Chinese government. We had, you know, the corruption at the top of the president, you know, from like the president was impeached, all sorts of things. We had the Me Too movement come out in the last couple of years when, you know, women are saying, no, you will not treat me like I'm a piece of meat. You will not treat me like I can be misused and abused and sexualized. I'm not, that's not my purpose. That's not my function on the planet. All of this stuff has been happening. So here we are. April began. We walked very staunchly all the way through the Australian bushfires, all the way through Christmas. We kind of hit the new year, and we hit January, and we had Jupiter enter Capricorn, which amped everything up a little bit. So all of a sudden Jupiter comes in. We've got Pluto and Saturn sitting there having an argument in Capricorn saying, here's all the corruption. Okay, let's rebuild it. Here's the corruption. Let's rebuild it. And then you get Jupiter into the mix, and Jupiter expands it to some kind of gargantuan size where nobody can avoid it. It's like giant, right? And look what happened. Some disease starts spreading across the earth. And then at the end of, what was it, January 24th, I believe, somewhere around there, or Mars went out of bounds. So what that basically means is that Mars got this ferocious amount of energy and started to act very irregularly in the collective, spreading this dis-ease around. And then Mars entered Capricorn on approximately, I think it was the February 20th, still out of bounds all the way until March 5th. So what happened between February 20th and March 5th? Anyone want to, yeah, anyone? COVID. I mean, it was already happening at the beginning of December, but it really spread like wildfire. I mean, the last couple of weeks on planet Earth has seen the utter reduction of all of our safety, all of our security, all of our reliable structures. I don't know about you, where you are right now in the world, but where I am in the world, the last week I've been quarantined. Like nothing is open. I stay in my home. I have literally had contact with 4 people in the last 7 days. Like we're not allowed out. I mean, we're not quarantined by law, but it is voluntary at this point, but we're being asked not to leave our houses. We're being asked to subdue the spread of this disease, which is hurting people significantly across the planet. So here we are, right? We can't go to work. We don't have community. We don't have anything. We've been forced to stop. And so that's what I kind of want to talk to you about today, because there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity. And I think that, you know, it's easy for us to kind of go into reaction based on the inflammation of the media, based on all of the news, based on our panic and fear. It's very easy to let ourselves go into the lower self and into the personality and into the ego and into the fear. Very easy. I've been there. I've been out and about. I've been in and out. I can track it. So I know it's there, and I know it's very painful. And I also know that there's something else available to us right now, and that there's something that's being asked of us right now. And so what I would love to just kind of piece out archetypally what that might be, okay? And I'd like to show you that on this chart, actually, because one of the interesting things that has been going on for the last month or two is Chiron here, this little tiny beautiful key, has been squaring the nodal axis. Okay, so the nodes are essentially like the karmic temperament of the planet, of the collective. The nodes really qualify the lesson plan that we're all experiencing. And this lesson plan for us is about to change, it's about to move, it's about to shift. But right now, we're at the very end of this lesson plan, and this new moon is an opportunity for us to all learn it. And this is an opportunity for us to all ground it in very, very deeply, because we have Chiron squaring these nodes, and tomorrow the sun and the moon are going to be conjunct Chiron all of them sitting at 4 and 5 degrees of Aries for our new moon, the very first moon of the zodiacal year, starting us off, a fresh start. So what does it mean for Chiron to be squaring the nodes? I want to just talk a little bit about what Chiron is energetically. Okay, so we all have a fairly, how can I put this so that everyone will understand? We have a personality. We have a personality and we have a soul. So we have a lower nature that is instinctual and primal, that is egoic and self-serving, that is here to keep us safe and here to keep us survive. It's very animalistic, right? It's primal, primary. It belongs of the animal kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and the vegetable kingdom. It's our lower 3 chakras. And when we operate from this primal, instinctual animal self, our life is very subjective. We're concerned very much with ourself and our own survival and how much we have and how much we can get and how much we need and how much we don't have, how much we lack, what we have, who we are. We're insecure and we're fearful and we're reactive, okay? And we're trying to get because we fear that we lack. So the primal, instinctual animal self is just what it is. There's no judgment. But we have another part of us that is available. And that is our higher self. That is our heart. It's our human self. According to the ancient wisdom teachings, we do not become a human being until we lift into our heart and we activate our intuition and our higher mind. And at that point, we get access to something much greater than the primal instinctual self can ever understand. Because the farthest that the primal instinctual self can go is the lower analytical mind. It can't understand intuition. It can't understand wholeness. It can't understand love. It only understands its own primal need to survive. So Chiron in the birth chart represents the bridge that we make between those two parts of ourselves, between the lower instinctual and the higher soul. And in order to bring the soul into our body, in order to become soul embodied, there has to be a subjugation of the lower self to the higher. The lower self really does have to let go because the ego is powerful and it likes to be right and it wants to hold on and it needs to know that it is powerful. But it's not actually, because as soon as it allows the higher self to come in, as soon as it opens up to its heart and its higher mind, it can relax and it can let go and it can realize that it is way more than it ever could ever have imagined being, that it didn't lose anything. In fact, it gained. But the art of letting go of our lower self, the art of letting go of our personality and allowing it to release and to be humbled, that is what happens with Chiron. Chiron is the place of humbling, where our ego comes to its knees. And that's why it's associated with pain. It's kind of painful to be humbled. Who out there has been embarrassed or humiliated? You know that feeling where you're like so humiliated and like you have nothing to do but let go? I know that feeling. That's Chiron, my friends. It's not an easy archetype. And I think collectively, what is happening for all of us right now is we're being brought to our knees. We're being given this opportunity in time to face into our primal fears, to face into our personalities and our egos and all of those parts of us that want to hold on and that are saying, hey, wait a minute, why can't I have it the way I want it? What's going on? I'm afraid. And to kind of calm it down and bring in a higher voice of reason. And that will help us embrace something more. This is what in evolutionary astrology we would call a turning point collectively. When planets square the nodal axis, we have an opportunity, a great opportunity to change, to heal, to move ahead, to change, essentially. It's a change point. So that's what we're all sitting at collectively right now, is this massive turning point. And tomorrow, our new moon is at that point of change. So what we've been talking about for months, about this Pluto and Saturn conjunction and the Mars and the Jupiter and all of this stuff, is spiritual sovereignty, right? We've been talking about how the power structures and the places we've given our power, they're going to fall apart. And yes, they are falling apart. Because the true source of power, always and forever, is your own central core alignment and your own connection to your higher self and to higher will. That's it. There is no greater source of power. If you give your power away outside of you, there's always a part of you that's lacking. There's a part of you that's afraid. There's a part of you that's in fear. If you anchor into your heart, if you anchor into your truth, if you anchor into your soul, there is no reason to be afraid. And it's from that place that we get to decide who we want to be. Yeah, we get to choose who we want to express it. We get to be who we are. I don't even know if there's a choice. I think when we're in that place, what we desire is in our highest good. What we want to create becomes an extension of our truth, right? When we're lower, when we're in our ego, what we desire is based on a fear, or it's based on a paradigm, or it's based on, I want that fancy car because he's got that fancy car, and I want that fancy car, and I want to be better than him because I need to be strong. Or I want to have sex with that one because she's pretty and I want to have her, and like then I'm going to be the man. Like whatever the stupidity of the lower self is, we don't have to judge it, but we don't have to live by it either. And so when we choose to be humble and graceful and grateful and to come into our central core and to come into ourself and to live in integrity, which is the hardest thing in the world. And I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is. But when we align our will in that way, when we really take the time to feel and to go in and to take charge and to take responsibility for our central core alignment and for our personal power, what we end up doing is creating something that is good for us and for everybody. It's collective. We end up contributing to the benefit of all people instead of just our own desire nature, our lower desire nature, which is inequitable. Okay, there's inequality there. There's greed that leads to excess, that leads to taking too much, right? It's unsustainable. When we're living from the lower self, it's unsustainable. And that's what's created the inequity on the planet, is this dislocation from truth, this dislocation from our heart. When we live in the lower self, we take too much, we eat too much, we need too much. We don't need that much. We really don't. But whatever we do need is easy and will come to us gracefully and gently when we're aligned. It's hard to believe, but it's real. So right now, at this new moon, we get a choice. We're in a turning point. We get to make a choice. And look how lucky we are that we have been brought home, North Node in Cancer, that we've all stopped, and that we've been forced or gifted with the opportunity to slow down and to stop this, like what essentially feels like a treadmill to nowhere. That's what this world has been feeling like. It's like you can't stop running because you might die. Come on, more. Let's go. Come on. It's like a race to nowhere, right? Well, the race is over. Here we are, like ground zero, right now. Here it is. Presence. Be with yourself. See who you are. Face yourself. Face your fears. Face your pain. Face your insecurity. And question it. Does that have to be who I am? Is that everything that I need? Is that what I am? Is that my truth? What else is there? Can I connect more? Can I connect to a higher place? Can I connect to a truer me, to a greater vision? Can I connect into a beautiful, creative, like resplendent collective level of truth? Is there, what else is there? And so I challenge you tomorrow, or this morning, whenever you're watching this, I challenge you at this new moon on the 24th to take some time to reflect on this. I'm going to be using this new moon to really identify what it is I am creating this year, who I am choosing to be, and from what vantage point I am declaring my alignment. Because free will means we get to choose. So this is a point of choice and a point of declaration. So take the time and use it wisely. I hope this was clear, and I hope this is enough as well, because I could go on forever. But I'm going to stop, and I'm going to say good luck. And before I go, I want to just acknowledge as well that Saturn has just entered Aquarius, and it will be there for a couple of months. So all of a sudden, the energy is changing, okay? And there's going to be much more support for the connection and for a higher vision and a higher truth. Aquarius is the energy of also great healing. It's where we see out and we see that other people exist, and where we connect to them. And each one of them plays their own role in this collective creation that we're all part of. And so with Saturn moving into Aquarius, there's an opportunity for you to take responsibility for your beautiful ray in to the whole, right? And it's also an opportunity for you to take responsibility for connecting in to the whole, for being you, standing in your sovereign awareness, standing in your integrity, and then connecting with other people, shining your light, sharing your gifts, being yourself, and not being afraid to be different, not being afraid to be wrong, not being afraid to be anything, just be. And if what you are right now is in pain and is in fear, then let it be. Be what you are right now. It's beautiful and perfect. And see, and yet question it. Question it. It can be as easy as 1, 2, 3, and you're out of it, right? It can be as easy as that. So, all right, I'm going to stop. Bless you. I'm so grateful you joined me today, and we'll talk to you again soon. Be well.